Anyone that didn't come? Okay, so thank you, Becky. She's so good at this, isn't she? All right, well, welcome. We're going to discuss my book, Get Out of Your Way, Live Your Life for You. And so some of you have seen or heard about this book. Some of you have joined some discussions. And tonight's the night where we're kind of wrapping it up because we just finished 26 weeks. So we went from A to Z. And just yesterday, Sunday, we finished that review. And wow, it was an amazing adventure. Each Sunday brought us a new letter and a whole new discussion that we delved into. And I would never have imagined at the start all of the insight, the advice, and just the awe that you would walk away with from the conversations. And so I I'm gonna ask, because my battery's dying on my phone, I'm gonna ask if somebody wants to share one of their favorite letters or a strategy that they know they need to be their best self and to live their life with joy. So I'll have somebody take that space. I'm gonna go get my adapter.
There's so many good letters. Okay. Well, growth is my jam, so I'm gonna go with G for grow. And there was let me see. Something that came through with the conversation that we had on the letter G. I made a note in my book because I think I'd completed going to a retreat around this time, and Tara, I was painting my growing pains painting, and I put a quote in here. I wrote down, or not a quote, I just put something in here about growing pains. It's worth the trial and challenges for growth because or for grow, because there's so much, even thinking about like plants growth, right? Like they have to be strong enough to push up and push through the dirt and like have that strength. And to me, like looking at growing pains as part of the challenge that we have as we continue to grow, and look at embracing it more, because of the possibilities. I really loved our discussion with G, and just the idea of slowing down to pause came through in my journaling on the letter G as well, and just really being more appreciative and grateful every day. And I also highlighted that it made like this chapter for grow had me feeling optimistic and courageous, and I think that really ties into the growing pains, because the courage that it takes to choose growth is it's not always enjoyable, but when we embrace it, we can look for the joy that comes from the pain that also happens as we fully commit to it. So I'll say G was my favorite, Tammy. If you're making me pick one right away, I pick G.
Thank you, Becky. I like G too. And I know some of you know Tim that was here a lot. He loved G. He loved the statement, you grow through what you go through. And I borrowed that from somebody in this space. And, Amber, for you and your young self, it's so true. The good times, the hard times, everything, it's a growth opportunity. If you choose, in the moment, it might not feel comforting that, oh, this is good for me. Okay. But when you come through it and you look back, oftentimes it can be weeks, it could be months, it could be years. You're going to look back and you're going to recognize how that experience gave you the growth to become stronger, to become more patient, to become more willed just to get things done. It's going to build you to be the person you are. Yeah. Anyone else have a letter or strategy?
My favorite letter was V for vulnerable. A lot happened on that day to me. The day of that talk, I had gone through a breakup not even an hour beforehand, and I just really needed to hear like that whole talk. And actually a quote I wrote down from Becky that she said was, "You can't be vulnerable without courage." And that's something I wrote down. And there's just a lot I remember I wrote down on my in the book from that day. And I just really enjoyed the talk, and um just what it really means to be vulnerable. And I thought it was a really good talk that day. So yeah.
Thank you, Amber. That took me years to even understand the word vulnerable and how important it is to be that. But the courage that comes with it, yes. Miss Becky knows. Lots of courage.
I think for me, that was my favorite letter as well, was V. Vulnerable is one of my words for the year. And just being more vulnerable and sharing more of who I am with others. Being more authentic and open with people. So vulnerability was definitely one of my words, and that was one that really resonated with me too, also.
Oh, thanks, Tara.
Well, I haven't been on the discussions, and I haven't really looked at the book much, but you all know that C is for choose, and that's always my word. You're worth, and you keep growing. Yeah. So
I like that.
yeah.
Well, and think about I didn't even think about it, looking back, remember your worth and keep growing. And how significant that is now as we're reading Worthy.
Yep.
I see all these seeds, they've been planted. And not until we look back do you realize they're there. They've been growing us in that direction.
I like the part you wrote here about own your choices. It's like, yeah, the choices I made in my life made me who I am today. So I own every one of them, good, bad, and ugly, you know?
I like that, honoring our past, because sometimes people will say, oh, there's so much regret, or I wish I didn't, wish I did. Yet it's that mindset too, choosing to look back at as all opportunities for growth. And like you said, Carol, you've taught us so much with the choice. It's the way we choose to see something or feel about something. It's our power.
Well, I'll tell you, I have so much wrote in these pages for notes each week, with the benefit of tapping into the discussions as much as I could. And I loved our discussion for S, self-worth. Like, my pages are full of notes. Just one of the big things that I had wrote down in here was oh, Hey, look, what if hope is the way to your strategy? I have wrote in here. That's funny. Oh, so good. I'm trying to read my handwriting. Competency equals confidence is something I have wrote on here from our discussion on self-worth. Huh.
I remember
So,
that.
yeah, do you? Okay, good. Because I'm like, did I just like write something random here? No. Know your worth. You're worthy of life. Be you. You matter. And I think that this probably always resonates with me because I always want everyone to know that they make a difference, know that they matter, even if they show up somewhere and they don't say anything, that their presence still matters. Like that's something to my core that, I always want to support people in knowing that they matter. So I think the self-worth conversation, talking about the book Worthy, talking about how it's in like multiple spaces in your book, makes a lot of sense because how we feel about ourselves in general, right? It helps us get out of our own way to make sure that we're thinking and helping ourselves feel more energetic with the way that we're living our life. I mean, it all comes back to us. So worth is a big part of that.
Yeah, and I'm glancing through and trying to see where I had the most notes. And, I had quite a few even with B for burn the boat. And I recognize that statement too was infused with growth. Growth requires us to leave something behind. It can be our habits, beliefs, careers, mindset, and even people. And this is why making space for grief in the midst of growth is important. You will mourn your former life to make space for a new you.
I had almost that whole thing highlighted. Yeah, there's so much in that, like the letting go. Because if we just keep bringing more things to hold, eventually it's gonna crumble. So we have to let go of those things that, we need to, and I like the idea of the grief and the mourning. Like it's not just forgetting about them, but it's feeling it to like heal it, release it, let it go, and like give the space to make the new, allow it to come in.
Yeah, I love that one too. And I actually turned to that one. That was fun that you brought it up because I was like, huh. Because I had just recently pulled out Think and Grow Rich in 10 Minutes a Day. And I was just kind of working through it. And it's just there was something put on my heart that I really needed to do, but it's so hard when you have to disappoint people in order to do it, when it's really the best thing for you. And I just really had to sit with, you just got to burn it. So you can't turn back and go back to the familiar, go back to the familiar. And so I just really, just kind of walked through a situation like this where I really just had to burn it because it was something that we've always done. And to change that when it's the best thing for you in so many ways moving forward. So I do love that addition of grief and mourning to just really make sure that, because it changed other people's trajectory, so that's a really good one to sit with. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I love that you brought up that book too. I mean, that's where this originated. you know, after reading Think and Grow Rich. It was so inspiring. And I remember too, that was at a point where so much of what we read and what it challenged us to do, I wasn't as prepared. You know, I think it took some time. Yet burn the boat for me was like absolute. Like when you're ready, you know you're all in and you're gonna let go, you know, and it's
And
crazy.
leave no other choice, because there is no other choice. When you know, like, this is it, you know, no matter whether and it's usually something hard. It's usually something hard that you have to do. It's a hard choice you have to make, you know. Um,
Mm. Yeah, that's why you burn them.
and do something hard.
Yeah. You burn all the boats. You can't go back. Yeah,
I
I
think
think
there's
that's then landing in the land of hope, right? That's where I feel that your hope catapults you because you're at that point where you know you just have the knowing that
This is
if
it.
this isn't it, there's something else. Maybe you don't know, but you're imagining it and you're hoping
Swimming.
it. Yeah. So there, now we have a land of hope too. I think I've heard
Yep.
that somewhere. I don't know if I just made
I
it
don't know
up,
where I
but
heard them. No, no. I
but
like the
Carol, we're gonna
imagining.
keep spinning. There's so much
Okay.
hope. I know, I love that. I love that you presented hope. And so Amber and Alexander don't know that, but the hour before this hour, we talked about hope and just how integral it is and just everything we want to do and we face in life and when we want to take on and want to try, there's always the element of hope that's placed those ideas and desires on our hearts.
And then the letter I for imagine, that made me think, yeah, you have to have that imagination so that you have something to hope about, right? Imagine the best outcomes. I like that. And don't, and I was kind of alluding to that, don't let fear steal the possibilities that your life can present. Imagine the best outcomes. Yep. Always. And therein lies hope.
I also just want to say, because I feel like it ties together, is just having that burning the boat. It really gives you this sense of worth of yourself, you know, saying like, I know this is the next step. I really feel like that is, I don't know what I want to say, just like it just so strengthens you and strengthens who you are when you follow that knowing. When you know something is so true that you can burn the boat, that is such a piece of self-worth that I mean, it takes courage. It's so hard. It's hard to come by, you know, it is hard to come by that piece of self-worth, like knowing you, like, so knowing you need to do something but can't do it because you're worried about disappointing others or what have you, where you're like, I really want to burn the boat, but I can't burn the boat, but I really want to burn the boat, but I can't burn the boat. You know, like it really does give you that sense of like, okay, I am worthy. I burn the freaking boat, you know, like, so I don't know. There was a tie there for me, obviously.
Yeah, it's like I can do this. I will do this. Yes. Self-worth, believing in yourself.
Believing in yourself, trusting in yourself. Yeah.
It's kind of like you're holding on to the rope for a while and then you're just like, nope, let's let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going off of that, yeah, like kind of just trying to only think about the good outcomes. And I'm a big what if person. I really overthink a lot of things. And it's just like, well, what if like that causes for this to happen after? But yeah, like I feel like just focusing on the good and only the good that could come out of it will only be the thing that pushes you to remind yourself of why you made that decision to burn the boat.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, Amber, because that's the most amazing part when you look back and you're like, I did it, and wow, does it feel good. Yeah. And you own it, all of it.
I want to say that, Carol, you were talking about imagine, and Tammy, this is one of the things that I absolutely love about your book is that I have a beautiful little picture drawn in my book of this path of hearts on every corner. On every turn, there's a little heart in there, and it says, "Step with courage and trust. Your journey step by step. Imagine the positive possibilities." So exactly what Amber was just talking about too. So I have my own little heart path drawn out in my book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Amber, for the what ifs. I mean, the what ifs, we can play both directions. So, where you get the one that's negative, then you go to the other and you're like, well, what if it's the best thing that's happened? And then it's like, why not? Why not? What do you got to lose? What's the harm? Because you're living your life. You know, this is why we're here. It's a journey. It's not, pass, fail. It's enjoy all of it. How are you doing up there, Alexandra?
I was unmuting here. Oh, I'm paying attention because I read the book from A to Z, but not all of them. I did the exercise.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so I still have to do that.
All
But if
right.
I have a favorite one, it's the one that I read first, the action one, take action,
Oh,
which,
yeah.
yeah, which I'm doing in quit smoking and hopefully by my 60th birthday I have no tobacco anymore in my life after 45 years. So I relate to that a lot, like that I'm taking action, like in doing therapy and in reducing, like each week we discuss like how much more I'm gonna reduce. And she told me that you can't just quit and, oh, I don't smoke anymore and stop it, because later on, like in 1 month or 2 months, you go back. So it's like an inner work that you have to do. So I'm paying attention how I associate all of the letters that you guys are discussing. I bring to this specific situation and how it fits, like burning the boat, like letting go the cigarettes, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's very enjoyable.
Well, good. I'm glad it's helping you. And you're right. The action, that's the biggest one, the biggest letter.
Yeah,
Page
exactly.
one.
I'm finally taking action to stop this addiction.
Oh, it's awesome. That decision, and that's so much of what we talk about with hope. And then we make decisions, take action.
Mm.
And then from there, it could be so many of these strategies or whatever else you have embedded in your own toolbox too. I mean, these are
Mm.
just ideas.
Well, I commend you, Alexander, for taking action. That is freaking awesome. Smoking for 45 years and you have that desire to quit. Like, that's truly amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. I
No.
appreciate that.
That is awesome.
And I know you can do it.
Excuse me, Beth.
I said, I know you can do it, Alexandra.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, you will. Takes a
Thank
lot
you,
of courage, a lot of strength, Willpower. You got this.
Take it one breath at a time.
Yeah, that's sure.
So we just turned to T, and it's trust, and that's Tammy, you were talking about the what ifs with Amber there, and that's what you have on the trust page. What if it turns out better than you imagined? And I love just the reminders that I highlighted in T too. Trust and persevere, choose you, decide your story, listen to your intuition and follow your heart. You know, deciding your story, I think, is a key part for me that I was drawn to in this discussion as well. Because trust takes time, and our stories aren't just, you know, one day. It's a building, it's a culmination, it's choices stacked up, it's decisions that we're making to stop things that are no longer serving us, to say yes and lean into the things that are uncomfortable maybe, but are for our greatest good. And, you know, trust is a building process. So I loved talking about trust too, and making sure that we're you know, being reminded to listen to our own intuition, our own heart, and follow that along our journey.
It's interesting because I had a conversation today in the workplace of trust and credibility. And it's interesting, right? Like for yourself, you can control that, you know, yet for others, you know, there's not always that full on power that we have over deciding that fate. But we could practice it, right? And so that, I think that's where if I turn, you know, if you turn the lens on yourself and for the full on trust and the worthiness and your capability, you know, for the state of being in a what if, it's reflecting on how much you've held your own and maintained accountability in the past, you know, and then you're building that credibility. And sure, sometimes we're at points in our lives where you might look back and you're like, ooh, that's kind of a shabby record. That's where you start changing. Or you give yourself grace and realize those were some bumpy days too. And you know, you did the best you could. So I think that's huge.
Yeah, I like that trust too. And I know when I first started making some major changes, just trusting in the unfolding was really, I mean, that was like my motto for a really long time when I was learning to trust and learning, you know, to be vulnerable and to put myself out there in uncomfortable positions. And it was really learning to trust that whatever is unfolding is that's what it is, you know, and to quit almost not to not let the what ifs and the veering off throw me off, you know. You just trust that there's high days and there's low days, you know, and just trust that whatever is happening is, it just is. So that was really huge for me. And trust, I mean, so many of us come from a non-trusting background, you know, like where we just lost trust in people. To be honest, you know, just lost trust in people. And so to build that back, and I think Lexio Divina has been a really huge part of that for me in building back that trust that there is something, you know, obviously there is something greater than us that we can put our trust in. And even if it's invisible, I mean, we feel it, you know, we feel the Holy Spirit and stuff, but even if it's invisible, like there is this greater thing that we can trust, this greater plan that we can trust in. And that was huge for me.
You're muted.
Oh, you're on mute, Tammy.
That's always
There
tricky.
you go.
Thank you. Sorry, I was just gonna share, we talked about hope and you always think of hope and pray together, right? Like there's always a statement like we're gonna hope and pray. And, I did a lot of that. And, where the trust comes into the picture, that's where I did borrow, a lot of the confidence and strength from others and the faith, and then found my faith back in God and recognized that I'm his child and that if I was made, and that everything that I am is intentional, that I am enough, and to then choose to believe that the plan that he has for me will unfold the way it's meant to be. And that did truly give me a lot of courage to persevere through, some tricky, unknown, times. Yet I think that in itself, I think it's, just like we choose to see ourselves as a beautiful being and that we know we have the faith that we can see our way through sometimes that we are adults, that's our trust in God. And then it's just playing twofold, right? That makes sense.
Yep. It's been rumbling around in my head. I looked at imagine. I'm like, yeah, we imagine what we want in our life, and then we hope that we'll get it. And we put our trust in God because He's divinely directing us in the first place. And so it's kind of like when I said jokingly about high hopes, maybe trust is a high hope. I don't mean to be sacrilegious in any way, but that song came to me for a reason, I guess. Do you know that song?
It's in my head. I can think of it. I'm going to look it up after this.
I hoped.
Yes.
I hoped. High in the sky. Da-da, high hopes.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my blathering again. So I kind of just put those three words together,
I love it. And back to just chatting about the choice. I mean, that truly is the epitome of the book is that, you choose with these letters how you want to interpret or use them as a stepping stone for achieving the goals that you could have tied underneath the letter. Yet, at the end of the day, it all comes back to you. And, no one's going to save you. It's up to you to take some meaning from whether it's the letter or from something you've practiced before and it's benefited you, whether mindfully, physically, spiritually. Those are the things to hold on to. It's not like, oh yeah, I tried that once, that was great. Yet you might then find yourself perhaps on your journey where you really are longing for some of those things or the memories stir up and you're like, I really miss it. It's probably, I mean, we probably all could attest to whether it's a food or experience where you're like, yeah, I used to ride my bike all the time. And then you stopped, like something happened, maybe you got a flat tire or, something ramped up at work or your life got too full. Then you move back to some of those things and you find out that brings you so much joy. So, somehow we do, we talked through another conversation today too, where we do get into our heads where maybe we fall out of our routine and for some reason we make it feel difficult or impossible for us to get back into it. And there's always us, like we're at the gate. You have to check yourself to know, what is your intention? Because if you're focused on what you want to accomplish, I think that's where that intentionality and the accountability grows stronger. And then you can persevere and stay the course, right?
Well, what you're saying kind of just reminds me, it always takes me back to like 75 hard. You know, when you decide that you're doing that, you're just doing it. And you make the time and your intentions, everything you do is built around what you do. You know, it's just, I mean, it's so cool. You know, it's like when you set your mind to something, and especially like that, you find you have more hours in your day. You know, how did I do all these things and I have more time than I've ever had before?
Yeah,
Because
it's true.
because we're so intentional about it. You know, you're so intentional about fitting it in.
Yeah, I appreciate that because it is. It's your focus is on you and achieving those goals.
And you'll burn any bridge. Like I know, you know, I mean, I'm on day 42, like the bridges are being burned. I don't care. You know, you're just full speed ahead, like nothing else matters.
Mhm.
I still have reading to do after this. No. Oh, no.
It's probably really easy to talk about because I'm not doing it, but
Yeah, I was like, day 40, I didn't know. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I mean, it's very true. I like, there's 9 hours in OP today. I've been in every single one. I still had 2 workouts that I already completed. And I'll still do my reading and, you know, I'll get all those things done after we wrap up. But one of the strategies I wanted to highlight that surprised me, right? Because this is one that I would have been like, actually there's 2, but I'll just start with one. That I was like, oh, really, Tammy? This is what we're gonna use as a strategy, before I even read it, because I would just come in totally fresh, open, each week as we'd have discussion. But Q is for quiet. And that's one that, yeah. You know, my notes in here talk about how going within is such a gift, and it helps me be more focused, and using that as a strategy to really let my own wisdom surface, you know, the wisdom that I've collected from all the people that I've surrounded myself with, and giving myself the space and the opportunity to be in silence, to be able to hear my soul speak to me. I have so many great nuggets of wisdom tucked in Q, that I was like, yeah, we got to give some kudos to Q over here, because it's one that I have grown in over the years, being in community with you ladies, about the power in silence and sitting with ourselves, and the strength that comes with that. And I'm going to show off my cute little heart with a sun in it. It says, "Shh, let your soul speak."
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think you should be an illustrator, Becky.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
well, silence is the language of God. So there's so much goodness in the quiet. That is where I feel like that's where just the yummy, delicious, nutritious goodness is. Just going inside. And I just have to say something that summed up, like I thought it this morning, and I thought it pretty much on every hour that we talked about. And I heard it yesterday, and I don't know what, I know why it's resonating, but I've heard it many times before, but today just reminded me of this is, those who look outside dream, those who look inside awaken. And that's by Carl Jung. And it started this morning. Like I kept hearing that. And it's something people say or whatever has brought that up throughout the day. So I just had to share it. I don't know if I just need to hear it out loud, or if somebody needs to hear it. But it's just it's just been, I don't know, it's just been on my heart all day long on every time we've gathered today. So
I love it. It's beautiful.
You say it again.
Yeah. Those who look outside dream. Those who look within awaken.
As someone that um, believes very strongly in journaling and introspection and reflection, I love that. I don't think I've ever heard that, Beth. So thank you for sharing it out loud.
Yeah, I thought about it all day and I was like, oh, I should share that. Oh, and then we got talking about something else. Oh, I should share that. Then we got talking about something else. So before it's 8 o'clock, I am like, good grief, girl, share
Get it
it.
out.
It is
Love
though,
it.
like that's interesting because that really hits home for me. You know, when I was checking out of my job and I had resigned, you know, so much of what I explained, my brief explanation to people was I wanted to work inward. I wanted to go dive in and work on me. But yeah, going inward, and that is the awakening to slow life down, calm your mind, and reflect on who you are, where you're at, what you want, where you're gonna go next, and taking the hope with you, Carol. Um,
I said yep to that just in case you didn't hear that.
I could imagine you would. Imagine. See, there we go.
Yep.
And Nancy's here. She snuck in.
Yeah, I was gonna say the other sneaky one is nature, Tammy. I think it was me,
I
you,
like
and one other person on that conversation. And I was like, oh, what are we gonna talk about with nature? But
Yeah.
that conversation was really good. And what came through for us in that, or what I took note of, what I remember about it, was really I drew up, here's my illustration, Miss Tara Parks. My bamboo.
Bamboo.
My bamboo. Okay, so because bamboo trees take 5 years of watering, and there's no indication of what's happening. It's all under the surface. You're watering the same spot for 5 years. But then the beautiful thing is that it spurts 90 feet in just weeks once it grows above ground. So once you see that baby going, it's going. You can cut it and go, cut it and go, but it takes 5 years of nurturing. So we got on a discussion on nature, talking about the beautiful, the patience is really where that came from. Because on N is for Nature, it talks about adopting patience on the first page there, and how that's slow grow makes us stronger. And we got talking about bamboo trees. So if you didn't know that, that just changed my world a couple years ago when I learned about bamboo trees and the power of persistence and patience and the strength that can really come from nature in that way.
And the sustainability of bamboo.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine 5 years. That's a long time to water something. Like, what's happening in those 5 years? I want to know.
It would be fun to watch.
See it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
Put a
do remember the
camera in.
conversation. I remember because you can hear, if you've ever been around bamboo, when the wind blows, it's beautiful. It's I know some of us have the wind chime kind of deal, but there's something just it's beautiful, but almost a little eerie sometimes because they creak too. So to imagine them growing from the ground up would be really cool to see.
Do they have leaves?
I didn't see any, you know, because Amber, you remember we just walked through some last summer.
They're just sticks, right?
They're just all like, yeah, they're so straight and they grow so uniform and they're beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah, Becky, I do remember that one. You know, like a few discussions we'd close down for the hour and it'd be like, wow, I never would have imagined that conversation to take the turn that it did. Nature was good. So much. just refreshing.
Yeah, I put on there that the nature approach makes me feel like work, disciplined. Consistency wins, though. That's what I put in there. And like that's the truth, like the consistency of nature, right? We talked a little bit of when I first started saying about growing pains and how, you know, we got to work, you know, anything budding up has to push through a certain threshold, you know, in order to actually start growing. But yeah, bamboo takes it to a whole nother patience level. 5 years of nurturing. That's just high level of commitment. But just, oh, the other part of nature I wanted to share is I had in here the natural progression and just also being able to focus on the strategy of following cycles of nature too, right? So like in the winter, slowing down or cozying up and like giving ourselves the, you know, the permission, the space, whatever you want to say about, you know, going with the ebbs and flows of the natural progression of nature that some people, myself included, will go against because, you know, we have other ideas about what needs to happen right now and how powerful nature is in helping us see that there are seasons for things for a reason.
Mhm.
That is so true. I just think that's a really good perspective to take on that. I'm definitely gonna take note because it's like certain things grow at certain times, no matter like the type of thing or the timing, because it could just be out of nowhere, or you could just be waiting and watching for it to grow. And if not, there's other things that will just grow instead if it's meant to be, like the weather.
Yeah, that's so true.
I think nature is such a healing thing. To be out in nature, to be grounded on the ground, to breathe the fresh air, to healing of the planet even. You know, we get rain to cleanse and clear off all the dirt on our sidewalks and stuff. And then lightning and thunder and all of it. It's just, who would have thunk of all this stuff? Maybe God, you know? But it's just cool to be out in nature. And it's so healing.
Yeah.
in
Say
ways.
yummy. That's our new word from Beth. Yummy. It's it's so it is so refreshing, and I think it's the awe of sometimes when you're out there and it is the changing of the seasons and you reflect, like right now, we're just seeing the buds on the trees. And then you want to imagine you close your eyes, you blink, and they're all going to be full on green leaves. And then, you know, we'll go through fall and then everything will be bare. It's just, it reminds me so much of how the world is so much bigger than us and all the things that take place and, you know, the happenings, you know, these events, and we're we're just here, we're just floating through.
Yeah, I mean, nature just trusts the unfolding, you know. I mean, nature just does. It's not, buds aren't forcing themselves, you know, like I always imagine too, like the fall leaves that they die and they fall off and they float to the ground. You know, when things die in our life, we try to cling on to with our very lives, like, no, you know, it's just so, I mean, it's just so cool. Like when you think, I mean, nature just does, nature just is, it just unfolds. And we just fight the system.
Yeah. It's similar to what Amber said. We can't force it. You
Yeah.
know, it's not like we can start pushing a plant to grow faster.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Oh, fertilizer.
true.
You could add chemicals. You could
There's
definitely
some
add
magical things. Yes.
I like the lazy river where you just go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Crazy.
I was muted, but when you said fertilizer, I said, yeah, pour some more shit on it. It'll help you grow. gives us the opportunity to build strength and resilience and
Yes.
growing pains.
Yeah. I guess that's part of the reality.
Mhm.
That's right.
You can't tell when that's going to show up. So it can come.
It's all part of the cycle, right?
Yeah. But it's interesting that we land on nature and kind of think about, that's what we're doing. We're living our lives just like a tree, just like a plant, and it's a journey. We don't know
And
how we're going to turn out.
The phrase that's coming to mind right now that I must share is shit happens.
We could put that on the backside.
Yes.
that's a whole nother book, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody
I
poop.
was gonna say, I was gonna say we hope for the spring, right?
Yeah.
Everything is dead and dying in the earth. It's cold and it's bitter and all this other stuff. And we long for and we hope for the spring. So, and then hope springs eternal.
Yeah. That's why this week is even better. Hope.
Okay, well,
All
as
right.
we're winding down, we got to give some kudos to Jay. Finding the joy. We're starting and ending. I'm starting and ending my day. Being thankful. It's J is for joy.
Yep.
So just the fact that I get to where I got to, starting in the day and celebrating living on purpose with you ladies. There's Nancy Kelso. Must have just made it home.
I literally
The
just
joy.
got home, so
I figured you were
but it was
driving.
really wonderful listening to all you ladies, and I just was in my element driving and listening to the wisdom of this amazing group. So thank you.
Yes.
So good to see you. Now, the real question is, did you put your wedding dress on every year?
Nope.
The real question.
I
Amazing.
thought about it on our 25th, never did it. Talked about it on our 35th, never did it. And I'm like, okay. Then I actually got it out when Ryan and Becca were here because Becca wanted to see it. So it's been hanging up in my office ever since Christmas. And I'm like, okay, it's going on.
Oh, awesome.
So
I love it. That was such a cool picture. Well, then I see that Mike had he had a different suit on. So I was like, oh, this is a tradition.
yeah. Yeah. I said
Aw.
I like the blue one on you. Can you go put that one? Oh, it's
Okay,
fun.
before anyone leaves, I would love to get a picture. I got one in the first call this morning at 6 a.m. and now I'm going to take a picture of us at the last call at, what time are we at? 8 o'clock.
Nice.
Okay, I'm taking a picture. And it's good because guess what? My dang cat killed my number 6 balloon.
Uh-oh.
No.
Put a Band-Aid on it and blow it up again.
On to beggar, we burned the boat.
Yeah, we're gonna need a 7 next year anyways.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, so good to see all of you. This was
Good to
fun.
see you all. Thank you so much.
So good.
Oh, it's good.
Tammy,
Well,
thank you so much for bringing your book to the table and walking through A to Z over the 26 weeks, and then how very perfect to get today to get to wrap up the celebration and the whole book together. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. And this turned out divine. We get to do a big celebration with it. So thank you.
Love you, ladies. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.